guys? Can anybody see, or is anyone here? Alright, I'm going to go activate this thing on Tumblr and just let people know that we are going active. Okay, so one of the things that I got asked today was how to make something look like it's moving towards the camera. So I figured that's as good of a place as any to start. Hey, Revless! I really hope I said that right. That's how I've been saying it in my head for the past however many months. So what I'm going to start doing is showing just a little bit of how I get things to look like they move. We're going to do a quick warm-up. And just kind of, we're going to start with a character of mine that's going to be my character model for things. Hey Mel! I'm really hoping that YouTube works out better than Twitch, simply because, you know, I'm more familiar with YouTube, but we'll see. And we're gonna see how long I can last tonight. I've kind of been fighting, I don't even know what. I slept half the day, woke up with stomach ache, slept more, woke up with a headache. Hello! And yeah, you're right, this does seem to be faster than Twitch's little default, whatever. But I am streaming this through a third-party app because Twitch's app was trash. You know, I just realized I didn't tell Discord that we were on right now. There we go. So I am drawing the person who's going to be kind of our character. Well, if you're having trouble with the comment, you should be able to just, if you're signed in with the YouTube account, then you can comment. The person I'm drawing is a character of mine that I'm going to use to like show how you can do movement type stuff and just do posing and things. So you guys actually have never seen this character because she's 100% original. She's not from Ninjago. She's not from any fan work. She is mine and she has her own story. Although I suppose if anyone's seen my art account, she is the header on my art account, so that's something. Oh, hi, Revlis. I'm glad you were able to get that taken care of. And Ceres, is that how you say that? I didn't say hi to you. So again, this is kind of just like a little warm-up sketch to do before getting into the big sketches. One of the things that I did talk about with somebody today was how to make it look like your character was really moving on the page, and especially towards the camera. So I figured that would make a good subject for this one. And a lot of that has to do with what we talked briefly about last night with like foreshortening and proportions or whatever with your characters. And if you guys have any sort of art things you want me to go over, please ask, because I don't structure these a whole lot. I want to leave them open for y'all to ask me stuff. Hi, I'm glad it was exciting to you. It's still very new to me, and I only started doing the streaming thing this past about a week ago, and I've only done Discord chats a couple of times. Anatomy is really hard to do. Honestly, the only reason I am so happy with the way I do anatomy is because I took an anatomy class in high school as an elective, and I've specifically gotten anatomy books for drawing. Not like, here's how to draw men or women, but straight up science section, human anatomy and physiology. So I guess we can start with Nuria's anatomy. Start there. Tips for drawing full body and torso connecting to the legs. All right, we're gonna go over that with this. So I always start right at the top with the head, just a really loose circle. And then I typically go ahead and sketch out that middle line and the chin. So the thing with this is, while the proportions are a little off for my art style, with the head, the place where your eyes want to go, don't go right here on your circle. You see that's about halfway through your circle. They need to be just a little bit lower, more about right here. But for me, I put them right at halfway through the circle because that's my style. And then shoulders actually are not in line here. Again, style choices. And then they slope down. And what I usually do for torsos is I split torsos into sections. So your chest, whether you have a little extra top or not, typically starts with like this shape. And then things pretty much go straight down. Now, the thing to keep in mind is this is a very much mannequin, bare bones type thing. You know, if you have characters that are bigger, you know, if this were Cole, his shoulders would be broader apart. Or if this were Jay, he probably would be a little bit more scrunched together. And then for attaching your legs, what I do is I put these two circles down the bottom. Now, they don't go straight in like legs here. You know, you can see that they kind of fit into where that's the contour of the hips. And then what you're essentially doing here is I draw the bone from here to here. And again, drawing the bone of that foreleg down to the bottom. Now, again, my stuff, the proportion is a little bit off because I tend to stretch out limbs a little bit. But once you have that basic skeleton down, then you can go in and you can map out the fleshy bits, you know, the muscle. And for me, it really helps to just straight up have the thigh like that. Kind of like, think like a Barbie doll. I don't know how many of y'all had Barbie dolls or other type dolls, but Barbie was always the example that I thought of. Where like you've got, clearly this is the leg section. And then again, on the other side, this one, like I said earlier, we're going to be talking about how to make things look like they're moving forward. This one, the leg is not as straight as this one. It's kind of bending backwards. And that foot's going to be just a little bit smaller. And the knee actually faces outward. Pro tip, the little bump of your knee faces out in the same direction as the toes. You're all right. Listen, like I said last time, I am the oldest of 5. I will never judge because a little sibling is derailing life a little bit. I really appreciate that. Foreshortening still gives me a lot of trouble, and just it's something that needs to be practiced a lot. So like I said up here, you know, Nuria does have, you know, a little more to her chest than what my basic little mannequin has. And so we add that little bit of volume there. And then kind of cinch in the waist just a little bit more. And then what I usually do for the hands is I put the little pentagon. And again, little pentagon over here. Hello. See you in a little bit, Mal. Oh, thank you. I'm always afraid that like my voice sounds too much like a cartoon and that people are gonna find it annoying. Yeah, I kind of wanted to touch on that pixel sketch that you asked me about earlier, and that's why we're kind of doing this, hello Jay, this particular pose. You know, clearly her arms are not quite as that dramatic posing as what you showed me, but we are going to still get that stepping forward thing that I talked to you about briefly. Oh goodness, no. I am the oldest of 5, and let's see, I'm 21. My sisters are 19 and 17, and then my brothers are 15 and 5. So the biggest thing that makes them might look like they're walking towards the camera is actually kind of in the arms. Those are going to be where you can get some of that movement to come through. Mostly just by where you put the hands and how you pose the arms, I suppose. Placing one in front of the leg like this and just one out to the side kind of makes it look a little different. Well, teenagers can be frustrating, and 7-year-olds are interesting because they're gaining a little bit of agency, but not nearly as much as they want yet. So they're a little demanding. And anyone who tells you about the terrible twos has clearly never had a 3 or 4-year-old, because terrible twos is only terrible because the adults expect it to be. In all honesty, every age has its problems. So that takes a lot of practice, and actually I don't do it correctly to make the eyes look identical. Let's see if we can do that right here. So the biggest thing about doing the other eye is to actually do them in the same stages at the same time. So that way you're constantly checking back in with the other side to see, is everything the way it's supposed to be? Is everything matching up? And you don't wind up getting frustrated and just, doing the emo hairstyle to hide everything. And sorry if I pause every so often. With all the headachiness today, I do have snacks and a little drink right here for me. So I might pause every so often. So I'm going to tilt y'all down just a smidge to kind of show you where I'm going with the foot and the ankles. And the big thing with these is just by adjusting the foreshortening on each limb. I'm glad y'all are enjoying this. Then you can see where this foot is a little bit more flatter on the ground. And I can draw that a little bit bigger here. So I typically do this for a foot that's facing forward. So this foot is more flat on the ground here, and you don't see quite as much. But then you can have the foot behind it that is kind of facing a little bit more out, and we can see more along the lines of that foot. Y'all are being really ambitious comparing me to that fantastic man. Yeah, that can help you just make it look a little bit more like your character is walking forward into the screen as opposed to just standing there looking cool. See, I can't go with Rena Ross. Y'all, I feel like Rena Calavera has a really nice ring to it. Or Rena Garcia, use my actual last name. But Rena Ross is just a little too white for me, you feel? So let's see, we've kind of gone over basic anatomy and how to make your character look a little bit more like they're walking forward. Were there other things that y'all wanted to know, or y'all just want me to jump right into drawing some ninjas? I can keep continuing on talking about, let's see, transparent clothing. I look really white, clearly. Dad is Hispanic Mexican, and mom is very much blonde white lady. Let's see, transparent clothing and more on hands. So for transparent clothing, just like everything, I kind of always recommend to sketch out your character's full body before you dress them. And don't worry, we'll get to hands right after this. And the thing with transparent clothing is it really depends on the amount of transparency and the color of it. Transparent black behaves a lot differently than straight up transparent white. And again, it depends on the material that you're using as transparent too. Really, it's not doing well with all this, is it? But anyway, so for your transparent clothing, what you need to do is be a little bit more deliberate with how you do the body. Let's say this character is mostly transparent fabric, but it's just layered really, really well across strategic bits, So with transparent fabric, just by being the nature of what it is, it tends to be a bit more clingy in certain ways and a bit more draped. So you can do that by kind of treating it honestly the way a lot of people treat hair, really emphasize how many folds there are in it and really emphasize where the limb goes. And again, it's much easier to convey this with like layering color over something. So let's say our character has, let's say that this is Pixel. So like with Copics, we can just go ahead and color this, that pretty brown color. And then go over it like that. We can still see some of her legs showing through. And that's just because of the material and because of the way that we colored it. So I'm going to go ahead and get a new piece of paper, and then we're going to talk about hands. Transparency is actually really hard to convey in black and white lead. I find it much easier to convey using color or using grayscale. Okay, so hands, the bane of everyone's existence. Yeah, Copics are really great because you can layer them like that. So for hands, I start off with 3 basic bits, and that's this circle, this little trapezoid shape, which, because I know how this be, here's going to be where your thumb is, and here is going to be where your first finger is. Listen, okay, Cane's is really good, and I go often. And this is going to be over where your pinky is. And then this part is actually the wrist and arm. So that's where we are at. I'm really sorry the quality is so horrible on this one. With Twitch it was much better. So just more and more. So the first thing I do is I put out stick lines for the fingers, including the thumb. Now again, like a lot of stuff, like my limbs, this tends to be a bit longer than in proportion, so take that with a grain of salt. I would love to draw for comics actually, but I don't know. I know that my art style isn't quite anime, isn't quite American comic style. It really isn't American comic style at all. So I can't see it being in high demand. So whenever you get to drawing your fingers, what I recommend is simplify as best you can. It is one thing to straight up do this. That's a lot of little lines, it's a lot of little cross hatching. Or you can draw these little nubbins. And the important thing to remember is while your fingers are not webbed, they are not straight up triangles. No, there's skin there, so it's more of a curve between the fingers. I am always down for concept art. The only thing is I am juggling a lot, and so just right now, EOTU and the Sunken Realm, they 100% have my priority aside from school. So with hands and wrists, and this hand is pointed down, what I usually do is kind of outline the top knuckle here and maybe here and here. And then you can sometimes outline this little ligament right here to really emphasize that like this is the side of the hand that we're talking about. And there is a little, crook of the wrist that sticks out here. So for those of us joining us that weren't here last night, we kind of have a new fan season that's going to be taking place sometime after EOTU, I suppose. EOTU definitely is going to come out first, and then we'll move on to the Sunken Realm. And instead of it being the focus on Cole, Jay, and Zane, the focus will be solely on Nia and Kai. And if y'all saw the characters that were posted from yesterday's stream, one of them was Nia, and the other one is a new character that's going to be showing up in that season. So if you're going to draw like a hand, like a fist that's kind of resting somewhere, again, we start here for our wrist. And I really recommend, looking at your own hand for this. Look at your left hand. What is it doing? How is it doing stuff? Because that's going to help you get proportions, and it's going to help you get specific poses, is to be able to use your own hand for these things. And don't forget the thumb. The thumb deserves to be remembered. Yeah, I'm always really iffy on the wrist nub. I am really, really lazy with my anatomy. I studied it really, really well for a year or so, and then kind of hit the ground running and was like, this is my style. This is how we're going to do things, which I don't recommend. Do life studies, continually push yourself to do more realistic things on your downtime. I'm excited about the new fan season too. Mel and I have already made the Google Doc, and she has chapter 1 written. So who knows? Maybe we'll be publishing this at the same time as EOTU, or maybe once EOTU is wrapped. If I want to get real ambitious, I'll have it wrapped by the end of next summer. But that's getting a little ahead of ourselves. She really is. I love Mel so much. So, is there a specific pose for hands, or a specific thing that trips y'all up? I know hands are just the devil, but I really will answer anything the best I can. Hi, Scotty. Grabbing hands. Okay, so I'm going to do a grabbing hand real quick. So whenever people are grabbing at something, they're either reaching out for it really desperately, which I've done a lot. The hand kind of pretty much goes flat, and then all the fingers get splayed out. And that's when we have like that desperate comeback grabbing type of hand. And the other thing, and just that hand reaching out for somebody is kind of hard. So the first thing, again, look at how your hand is. Right now I'm looking at my left hand, and it takes some contortion on your part, not gonna lie. First thing that kind of stands out to me is the thumb. It kind of stands out like this. And then we can put in our fancy little pentagon. And this actually right here, so the back of your hand, this line is going to be the middle finger. Then we can put in that second finger. And these actually, if you simplify it, will hide the rest of your fingers. You know, the rest of your fingers are kind of hanging out back here. You don't necessarily have to draw them if you're not looking for a hyper-realistic style. And then of course, once you get those basic lines down, you can kind of just go through and fix everything. The hand's not fun. It really isn't. It's a whole lot of bones and ligaments, and there's not really much room to play around with it. Now, as for expressions, expressions are every bit as much character design heavy as clothes are. You know, we'll, let's see, what are two characters that are pretty different as far as, let's try Zane and Jay. So if we just have a happy Zane, Zane's smile is kind of straight, straight across and not much of a curve upward. It's more at the ends. And again, his eyebrows tend to be pretty neutral. Hi, Mel. We're doing expressions. I just did a whole little thing on hands. And I don't know, to me, Zane always looks mildly concerned, probably because he lives with the people that he does. So specific eye shape really should work for you instead of against you. So like Zane's here, his eye shape that I've kind of assigned him is this very square-ish eye shape. I mean, that's a pretty good point. He does do a lot of self-sacrificing. It might as well be confirmed. He straight up said he had selective memory, and I know that's fits a criteria. So if we compare neutrally happy Zane to neutrally happy Jay, and so with Jay, one, nose is actually a really big part of the face. So I try to vary that as much as I can. He sure the frick did. And the other part is his neutral smile is a bit more open. There's a bit more teeth in there. And Zane's is pretty small. So right here we have two very happy characters, but they both have different facial expressions, even though they're both technically that same level of happy. And we can kind of compare the differences between them. You know, Jay's eyes are pretty round. You know, his is definitely more of a circle shape, while Zane's is more of a rectangle. And then we go into the nose. Jay's nose definitely points up a little bit, while Zane's is much straighter and actually much smaller. Jay actually kind of has kind of a big nose compared to some of the other characters. Now, the biggest thing with expression is you don't just have the mouth and the eyes to work with you. You actually have the entire head. Yeah, big nose and a big mouth. So let's compare two different things. Let's compare, you know, we've got a happy Zane over here. Let's maybe make a panicked or a scared Zane. So the first thing with panic or just scared is just to widen the eyes. Now you'll notice over here, neutral Zane has that rectangle. As those open, you know, the corners of the eyes are not going to move as much, so it opens to be more of a circle. And the other thing is that scared is often very easily shown with smaller pupils. And that kind of scared and panicked can be shown with like the eyebrows doing that curve and bounce. That's what I always call it, where the ends of them turn up, but they definitely furrow down into that "this is not good" look. And for different characters and different scenarios, the mouth will either be really small or really big. Panic might make you do really small, just not even a gasp, or it can be straight on yelling. Yeah, poor Zane has really been through a lot. So with messing with your eye shape, because eye shape can be really important to helping disrupt that same face, you know all of your rules so that you know when to break them. You know, if I'm going to draw Jay and he's half asleep or halfway towards unconscious, his eyes are going to actually look more like this. Even though normally his eyes are definitely that big, open, round look. And the same thing goes for Zane. You know, down here, they're almost circles whenever his default needs to be that square thing. And they do kind of have a square shape to them, you know. Jay's, they kind of close down to a triangle, but Zane's still kind of keep that square guidance, as opposed to Jay's just straight up curved eyelid. And the other thing is, just like I said earlier, if you can vary your noses, that will actually kind of set people apart so much. You know, I got really lazy with Jay, Nia, and Lloyd. They all kind of have that cute little button nose. But, you know, or Kai, Nia, and Lloyd, my bad. Kai, Nia, and Lloyd have this cute little button nose. Jay has much more of a turned up nose that has much more of a point to it. And then Cole's, I wanted him to have a bigger nose, kind of along the lines of Zane, but I definitely don't want to be the same. So his is actually softer. You know, this curve right here is a lot softer than Zane's. And then Zane's is definitely the straightest and the smallest nose out of everybody. And actually the longest. And you can do other noses than that. You don't just have to do this, you know. Some characters, if they've got a hooked or a broken nose, you know, you'll see a lot of older Disney characters, especially in Tangled. In Tangled, there are so many characters with some version of this nose. And usually there's kind of like a mustache under it. And even you can have some variation of that. Like whenever I draw Sensei Garm, he definitely has Lloyd's nose, but definitely a lot more mature. So with Lloyd's hair, you know, he is a Lego. There's a lot of leeway with how you can draw Lloyd. So how I draw Lloyd's hair. You know, first thing you have to decide is what do you want his hair to be like? And I have levels. You know, clearly Zane's hair is the straightest, followed by Kai's, and then it goes all the way down the line to Jay definitely has the curliest hair out of everybody. And then Lloyd kind of falls smack in the middle. He really does. Poor Lloyd. And again, going into like how eyes can help characters, Lloyd's clearly have some of that diamond shape to them. So for drawing Lloyd's hair, or for drawing any character's hair that you're not sure about yet, start with the front. You know, how does their hair look? How do their bangs look? So the first thing you saw was I started here because I wanted his part to be here. How characters part their hair, or how their hair naturally parts, can be a big part of drawing their hair. And then the other thing is, you know, I draw the circle base for a reason. The hair needs to cover the whole head for Lloyd. You know, he gets a lot of these little things and a lot of this because of his hair being wavy and curly. Yeah, I was lucky enough that I rejoined Ninjago after the redesigns happened. So I kind of was just able to go full hand, do whatever I want. And I definitely do that, especially with Jay. You know, I prefer to keep his little eyebrow notch there. But I also throw in the freckles and the curly hair. But I like the reddish brown hair for him. But yeah, no, I know it can be hard to like differentiate characters, especially for hair, because it feels like you can only have so many different styles and types of hair before you run out. Ninja headcanon ethnicity heritage. So I'm not as big on going into like heritage as in certain assigned countries or whatever. I love the idea of Dr. Julian being French and therefore Zane having that French accent, but to me, he just looks, that's a white European character. And for Jay, again, he definitely strikes me as a white character. I know a lot of people headcanon him as Pakistani or similar because of his voice actor, and that's fantastic. Definitely gives a lot more variety. For with that darker skin tone, and Cole, I place squarely in India. Uh-oh. Hold on, guys. All right, guys, how are we doing now? Is it any better? All right. All right, fantastic. Okay, so like I was saying, ninja ethnicities. I don't really attribute any specific heritage to anybody. Yeah, I definitely see Zane and Jay as pretty white characters, I know a lot of people might see Zane as black for how his hair acts, and that totally makes a ton of sense to me, and that artwork is so pretty. And I know some people see Jay as like Pakistani, like his movie voice actor. I just, I don't know. He struck me as like little white kid with freckles. For Cole, and this will kind of show itself in EOTU, I put him squarely with Indian South Asian heritage. And of course, Kai and Nia, I put kind of like Southeast Asian. You know, they have that darker skin tone, but not quite as dark as Cole's. And then Lloyd, definitely straight up East Asian. Ninjago has such a strong East Asian aesthetic. I feel that, you know, being the son of, or rather the grandson of the guy that made Ninjago, it just really fit for him. You guys can hear my roommates running around, huh? So what else, guys? You know, we've gone over expressions, hands, posing, all those good things. Any other thoughts? Any other concerns? Oh man, I actually love drawing hair. So the biggest thing with hair is gonna be watching how it actually does work in wind. And again, watching from life. Life is such a good teacher for visual stuff. So again, we're gonna use Will here. He has such a good hair for this. So the biggest thing is the closer hair is to the head, the less likely it's going to be to dramatically move like this. And it's just the nature of how hair is, you know. The more slack you give like a leash, the more area it has to move around in, and the same applies to hair. So what I tend to do is you gotta decide which way your wind is blowing. And then hair rarely goes straight out like this. Doesn't do that. What it does is it kind of rolls over the wind in kind of this direction. And the heavier and thicker your hair is, the less it will move. And that's just the nature of hair. You know, if you've got really thick, beautiful curly hair that you see like on Moana, it's not going to move in individual strands like how Will's hair does. Yes, Zane's hair really is not going to move. If it does, it's going to be like just a little slightly to the side. You know? Honestly, the little bitty bit right here that I do, that's going to move more than anything else. And really, you can treat hair just like you treat fabric. You know, a sturdy leather jacket that's not going to move as much in wind as like really sheer Zane cutting his hair. You know, I kind of wonder if Zane doesn't realize that people cut their hair, because like he's probably never had to cut it. Okay, Mel, it's not Maya, but I definitely see the direction you're wanting to go, and we do have people here who haven't seen a lot of the hidden or the sunken realm. You should be so proud of me. I got a giant new pad of paper just for doing streams this semester. Oh, no, Mel. Shh, no, you can't see my reflection. And I'm 100% going to do stuff for the Sunken Realm. I love the Sunken Realm so much. Besides, y'all do not want to see my reflection right now. I left the bed once today to go get groceries and food, and not much effort was put into. Where did I put that pencil? I just had it. The hell? Okay, new pencil it is. Oh, that's perfectly fine. Honestly, I might duck out at 8:30 because it has kind of been a long day of laying in bed, being dramatic, and I might just take the time to have kind of an early bedtime today. Maybe not early bedtime. Maybe I'll just go back to writing. It's been a while since I posted a Ninjago Legends chapter, and that should be updated. So I can definitely do a Moro for you, Revless. Just give me one moment. I actually haven't 100% nailed down Moro's design yet. I'm glad y'all like my writing. That makes me feel really happy. Ninjago is actually the first fandom that I've written and posted stuff consistently for. I did one Danny Phantom thing 3 years ago and then quickly forgot all about it. Not Revless. Rifted, you're gonna have to be real specific because I've written a lot about Echo being E. Yeah, I'm glad these live streams are helping people. I definitely learned a lot of my stuff on my own before going on YouTube and before seeing actual real-time art stuff. And so my stuff, there are things that I do that probably are technically bad. So my biggest thing for Moro, keeping a consistency, is he does part his hair in the middle. And he's got this big chunk of hair, and that's this little dyed green piece that always hangs down in his face or around his face. Oh, that one. If y'all want, I can try to update that tonight after this. Yeah, it can be hard like just posting videos directly because you can't get real-time feedback and you have to wait. I thrive on feedback and especially the real-time stuff, which is why I post whips all the time. Fave season of Ninjago, the one that I shall always go back to and watch. Gosh, I actually really enjoy Tournament of Elements, but I gotta admit, Hunted is by far my favorite. I'm such a little angst gremlin that I love all the potential that it has. I don't know why I'm calling myself an angst gremlin whenever Moro's like right here glaring at me. Possession is such a good one. I honestly, like so many parts of Ninjago, I feel like it's such an angsty idea that could be expanded upon if it wasn't Legos. Like Mel makes such a good point whenever she says that like Lego's art styles that's holding it back, and then the one time they go into doing an anime style, it's played off like a joke and it's played for laughs or whatever, but it's like, no, you guys are so close. Why don't you see the potential that's there? I kind of miss Mora too, but I feel like Ninjago, as it is right now, just would not give him they wouldn't give him the right arc. Everybody wants a redemption arc. Everybody wants somebody to go from being a villain to being a part of the team. But, Suko was the exception. He's not the rule. And I don't think Moro would have been given the right time to redeem himself. I mean, yeah, he completed the arc that he had in season 5, but I don't think he quite got to the point where I was like, we're going to be friends with the ninja, which I think is what a lot of people would like. Yeah, see, that's what I mean. Like, as it stands right now, he's not ninja friend material. Like, maybe he'd be neutral, you know? Like you said, chill out at Yang's temple, maybe keep things uh, picked up enough to be like a secondary base. Pixel doesn't have to look buff. She's buff on the inside where it counts. And then she's just way stronger than she has any right to be. Nia, on the other hand, just straight up, suns out, guns out, bros with Cole. 100%. Zane and Pixel, they're amazing together. They're so amazing, they stole a show of an entire AU. Oh, that would be hilarious. Like, just surly. Dareth doesn't let him actually bartend because he's not nice. But he definitely busses all the tables, and he will, bounce people if they're not behaving. That would be hilarious. Let's see the SOG take over Laffy's whenever Moro, the pissed off bouncer, is there. Please tag me whenever you do draw that. I would love to see it. See, I don't think Lloyd can control the other elements so much as just the other elements contain a portion of energy, Mel, what do you think they're going to do whenever, we actually do get around to releasing the season? I know it's basically on me at this point to draw that first chapter, but, dang. Okay, that was straight up just pure BS on Jay's part and on the animators, and you know that. So Garmadad, to me, is chilling in the departed realm. And at first, it was just chilling with his sunglasses on, Don't gotta worry about nothing. Don't gotta worry about nothing. Because, his son has to do a lot of stuff, but his son's got it taken care of. But then, of course, that upstart Harumi had to go and summon his, leftover negative energy from whatever the equivalent of hell is now. And just... And, now he's sitting up there. And the sunglasses are still on, except now he looks a little bit more pissed off. I mean, part of me would love for it to be a fun conspiracy theory and, it was trash, yada, yada, yada. But the other part of me is very aware that the animation for Ninjago is not always super amazing, and it is just as easily an animation error. I mean, Garmadon could have made his way down to the underworld, but I really think that, dying as Sensei Garm, there was kind of some redemption going on. We're gonna give him a Hawaiian shirt because I feel like he deserves it. Because he's Garma Dad. I mean, definitely Emperor Garmadon is off somewhere biding his time. But, I mean, we're just going to add it to the list of things I'm going to fix on EOTU. See, now I just want to draw, like... cannot wait till we get to that cameo. People are gonna yell at us. I can't. It's gonna be so good. Yeah, Garmadon, gosh, makes me so sad. So yeah, we got a little Garmadad. Little Lloyd. And the fact that, like, Lloyd had time to stop and hug him. It's good stuff. Well, you know, first he gets sealed away in the Preeminent. Let's face it, that was basically Lloyd having to kill his dad via magic. Except nobody likes to talk about it because it's a little morbid. And then after Lloyd's, you know, had to come to terms with the fact that Dad's gone, he's never coming back, then Lloyd essentially has to ensure that he, you know, the final death. You know, I don't understand, you know, at Lego, ¿por qué? Why can't we just, you know, have Garmadad back? But no. You know, I love, actually, the idea that Garmadon gave Lloyd his, like, robe or whatever. Because of, like, you know... Because it says robe. It doesn't say straight up, like, all of his clothes. Like, yeah, no, the minifigure totally changed. But, like, that's something tangible of his dad's that he had. You know? You know, if this were something a little bit more mature, then, like, it would have straight up been, like, just the outer robe. If it weren't straight up minifigs, then it would have been the outer robe. And that's, like, you know, your dad giving you his leather jacket type thing. Like, to me, there's still room for it to be sweet. Oh man, Mel, should we tell them? Oh yeah, go ahead and hit me. Oh dang, legit? I don't know how that detail like skipped me. Oh, Mel, you're gonna break my heart. Now I have to go draw angsty stuff about Garmadad and then later some angsty stuff about Sensei Lloyd. Gosh, it's been a while since I've drawn Sensei Lloyd. Last time I drew him, I was like in a whole nother. I mean, technically DC is not a state, but let's be real. Well, it is almost 8:30, so I'd say we've got time to go over one more thing. Is there any other stuff that like I can go over for you guys before we end the stream? Yeah, let's see how well I can explain this now. So like the Oni masks we have seen. I will totally do that in just a moment. We've seen an orange. We have seen purple. And we have seen a red. So Mel and I, while talking about and brainstorming for this fan season or whatever, have already created a green, and a yellow, and we are working on a blue. So our little, we'll call it fan lore. Our fan lore is that these Oni masks are not made by accident, per se. But they do serve a purpose, and it's not just to bring back Emperor Garmadon. And that the idea would be if you could, that you could combine all of them into, you know, if anybody's ever tried to mix paint, it's not quite this clear cut, but essentially combines into something black. And so, you know, without giving away too many spoilers, we're going to be kind of experimenting in that vein of, you know, are there other Oni masks? Where did the Oni masks come from, aside from just being from the Oni? You know, how did the Oni make them? And I think you guys are going to love it. You know, Mel, that's actually a really good thought. Like, will we still be looking for Oni masks by the time we get to Sunken Realm? asking the real questions. And what do you mean, what are we up to? We're not up to anything. It really doesn't. Honestly, I'd just as soon, you know, EOTU's second half, I think, should finish up that Oni mask storyline. Oh, yeah, we totally should do it separate because, like, I high key want to start putting stuff out for that right away. We actually should talk about that URL later. The hardest thing about drawing Emperor Garm is all these arms. Yeah, I know we're saving a bunch of stuff for the sequel. I'm actually so excited about that, and gosh, we just have so many plans. And I don't care if Emperor Garmdon doesn't have horns. I'm giving him horns because I want to. Oh yeah, you're right. I totally forget that like Lloyd being unable to do the thing is a part of it. No, I'm alright as far as like refs go for 4 arms. Like I get the basic anatomy. It's just I put a lot of construction lines down and so they can get in the way. And I have no idea what shenanigans you're talking about. We are two perfectly good little content creators who make good, wholesome content. Let me see, what other stuff did we ask to go over? Okay, so feet. I actually do feet really quickly. So what I start with, this is going to be our ankle, this is going to be our heel. And then we go out to our feet, to our toes in kind of a small slope, and essentially make, you know, kind of a trapezoid triangle shape. I promise we are not like 100% devils. We have some semblance of a heart. The thing is, most of the time your feet are going to be square on the ground like this. So like you can have a little bit of a curve right here for that little pad of muscle, fatty tissue. And you can kind of just tweak that setup for pretty much whatever you want, you know, ankle, heel, triangle bit, boom, your foot's facing forward. And then just remember that like toes work like this, pretty sure it's the inside of the ankle that the bump is a little bit higher than the outside, kind of like this. I could be wrong. It's been a while since I've looked at an actual reference. Oh my god, I know. What's really hilarious is that, like, I really am not feeling well today. And today's the day that I post something that's not angsty. So that's a general gist on like drawing feet or whatever, and getting that for shortening down. So the backs of people. This is going to be where you have an excuse to look up just any type of athlete. What I usually start with is the shoulders and the head. Like anything, any type of what's the word? Any type of body drawing. I start with the head and shoulders. Yes, Lloyd is actually getting a hug. Right now we're going to go over how to draw people from the back. So again, start with your head and shoulders and just kind of plan out where your arms are going to go. And just like before, like I said, I do this little top bit that's for the shoulder blades or the pecs if you're going from the front. Have a good night, Mel. I'm drinking OJ by the gallon. And just, I find it always helps me to draw like a spinal column on people. And kind of tilt this down a little bit more so y'all can see more of what I'm doing. And remember, your shoulders slope down from your neck. We're going to draw the basic outline of these, and then we're going to get into the really difficult part of showing off how this is the back. So some of the things that you can do to make it look very, very clear that, you know, this is the back of the character is showing like the shoulder blades. And of course with some characters you can kind of have just like, there's this little dip. It is not the behind or anything like that, but there's this little dip or whatever in the skin there. I don't know where my eraser went. But anyway. And then just, you know, having the arms be in front. There's this little, you know, people are always self-conscious about this little pocket right here. It's just a little pocket of cushion. And then the biggest thing is just drawing from behind. So the great thing is whenever we're drawing from the back, you don't necessarily have to plan out where that chin and where that jawline is. You can just draw the hair. The biggest thing for drawing the hair is now you have to think in reverse. You know, if you usually put a character's part on the right side, now it needs to be on the left because we're viewing them from the back. All right, guys, any other thoughts on, you know, things, questions that you got? Anatomy bits that give you a hard time. We are keeping things PG. Just feel like I have to say that. Yes, Revless. What? One more thing. I love y'all too. Ninja suits. Oh man, ninja suits. Okay, so let's think. What ninja suit and ball gown dresses? Okay. Okay. Ninja suits and ball gown dresses. So for the ninjas, we're going to start up here, and it's going to be kind of small because I'm kind of running out of paper here. Going to be kind of small, she says, and then immediately thinks, let's draw Cole. So unless I'm drawing for a particular season, in which case, you know, you've got kind of a reference in the minifigure, but you can also kind of do whatever you want. I just draw them in a really simple ninja gi. So I usually starts with just going down across the chest like this. Preach, Revless. So strap down here, and then the matching one across to make that V-neck. Of course, we're not going to give Cole any sleeves. And the sleeves kind of poke up like that because there's not anything holding them down. And then the next part is the belt, which kind of gets tied off wherever. I kind of just default over here where the band, where the edge of the shirt meets down. And then you can kind of give some lines here to give it that idea of this is heavy fabric, but it's also loose fabric. And then it kind of depends. I always flip-flop on how to draw the legs. Usually it ends up with like the fabric being bunched up here and the better part of the pant leg ending just below the knee. And you can have kind of that, I have no idea what this is called, but like that white and then the slipper, like we're gonna draw here. Or you can also do just straight up like little ninja boot or the sandals, I think it is. Yeah, I know there's a specific shoe. I tend to get lazy with these things, especially whenever I don't have reference. And not gonna lie, before Ninjago, I did not draw ninjas very often. So yeah, that's how you can get kind of that basic ninja outfit, and you can tweak and just redesign that to fit with whatever minifigure you're doing. So for ball gowns, I guess we're gonna do, let's draw you guys that gown I had to wear for that weird beauty pageant thing. Tell you guys what, I'll go until 9 o'clock and I'll answer the question on hair, since we did talk about hair a bit today. And then it'll be really need to be time to go. So ball gowns. First off, drawing the bodice is my usual go-to for the first part. And if your ball gown has a corset type design in it, it's gonna be pretty form-fitting. FYI, these are not comfortable. They're not fun. The next part is going to be the skirt, which is usually, floor length. So, bye, Revless. And then depending on how big the thing is, it's going to go out pretty far from the waist. You can have pretty big petticoats. And the dress I wore had very light fabric, but also pretty stiff fabric. So it went out pretty far. I promise to take care of myself. It'll be right back to bed and Kim Possible as soon as this is done. And of course, whenever it comes to doing hair for these, my hair that I wore for this was definitely up in ringlets. And so you can have that really big thing, or you can also have, there's a secondary type where essentially it's a bit more form-fitting. Which I don't know why I wore so many sleeveless dresses for this. I was 16. What was I doing wearing sleeveless dresses? The biggest thing is just to draw from a reference. These particular dresses, I might be remembering some details wrong, but I did actually wear them. So it's much easier for me to draw them and draw them with some form of accuracy than if I was just drawing a dress on a page. All right, so last thing, we're gonna come over here to this little blank spot and we're gonna talk a little bit more about hair. And don't worry guys, I do wanna make this a weekly thing. What might end up happening is doing one on Twitch and one on YouTube each week. So we're gonna do some of the different hair that I have done. So let's take Jay's hair for example. Jay's hair is pretty floofy. The biggest thing in conveying that floofiness is what direction the hair gets pointed in and how much of it you draw. So like the front part of Jay's hair, he always has this big distinctive curl to it, and it always points up and out of his face. And then it kind of sticks up off that circle of his hair. And always, 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 just really big waves and really big curls. Even the curls that point down like this, they kind of get pushed out a little bit so they don't look very uniform at all. And so just, he actually has a lot of hair. If you straightened it, like I model his hair off of the way my hair acts whenever it's healthy and happy. If you straightened it, his hair would actually probably go down to about here. And then you compare that over here with Moro. He has straight hair and kind of stringy hair. I make his hair pretty thin because he's him and kind of looks a little greasy in the show. I'm sorry, Moro, but it's true. And so his hair doesn't have nearly that up and poofy and big. And it's all about just big, thick lines and big, thick curls. The other thing is drawing Kai's hair. Kai's hair is actually pretty thick too. It's just his hair that sticks up. And so it definitely looks like it has more volume. And the thing is that it's drawn in bigger chunks than Moro's. I really like Jay's new hair, but I'm not a big fan of like everything about the new design. Like clearly I try to keep his cute little eyebrow notch, but I love his curls. But yeah, the bigger sections that you put the hair in, the thicker it's going to look, because hair likes to group together, and the thicker it is, the more of it there is to group. And with straight hair, you can kind of play around with it a little bit more. Well, I think that just about wraps us up. Yeah, I definitely have Jay's hair the way I draw it here, except I don't treat it as well as I could. But right now it's getting pretty pampered since I dyed it red. Ice cold showers and fancy shampoo. Oh man, messy hair Zane and down hair Kai. Do I like you guys enough to give you that? Maybe? I'm glad to help. Kai's hair is definitely frustrating to me, but honestly, Zane's was the one that intimidated me the most. We'll just say that Kai here took a swim. He's not pleased about it. Well, they are siblings, you know. Are we back? Maybe. Okay, there we go. Grumpy, the messy-haired Zane. Okay, guys. I think we're gonna call it a night. Seems to be having a really hard time keeping up. Thank y'all so much for doing this, and we're gonna call it a day.